and they said they're not coming for your guns. Welcome to the Candids series, where it's just as it sounds. Candid, unscripted, right in the moment, because it's something that just needs to be talked about right now. So, let's get into this. All right, y'all. Let's just get right into it. Sheila Jackson Lee, Democrat out of Texas. She's proposed a bill, HR-127. Let's get into what that is in a moment. Just a little background on Sheila Jackson Lee. She graduated from Yale and the University of Virginia School of Law. Does that make her intelligent? Well, sure, it makes her intelligent. Does that make her smart? Well, back on my own personal private Facebook page, I posted a few months ago a photo of an AR-15, right? Which AR does not stand for. The whole point was I was having a conversation with somebody, posted it, explained AR does not stand for assault rifle. Gave the history of the AR. AR stands for Armalite, first manufacturer of it. They're also not used in war. They are not a weapon of war, right? They look like it, but they're not the same gun. These are not automatic weapons, right? So, we had that conversation, the same points that we have to make all the time with people. Somebody got on and because I also made a statement that iron sharpens iron, we can have a good conversation, we can both grow, asking questions and so forth. Somebody felt, a social justice warrior who just couldn't help it in her self-righteous way, interject into a conversation she was not a part of, then send me a private message explaining that I was racist, white supremacist, and no ally to the black community. And if I have any black friends, I essentially have to let them go. Right? That's what you said. That's what you said. I mean, they make racism out of everything. This this little keyring thing, racism. This little thing that came out of the dog squeaker toy, white supremacist. This thing, racist and white supremacist. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. But that's what she did, and that's how she assassinated my character. She also said, I'm trying to preach iron sharpens iron, while she is just trying to teach me not to be an asshole. In fact, here, this is her message, right there. When are you supposed to say that? You can't communicate with these people. You cannot have conversation with them. They are deranged. The whole point is that just because you graduate from Ivy League does not make you smart. In fact, it often can prove that whole saying of educated fool. Perfect example. So, Sheila Jackson Lee, let's get back to her thing. This bill that she proposed, she wants you have to have a license to carry a gun, which we know most states already have. A license to own a gun, that means in your home, even if it's a hunting rifle, or just a .22 plinker, then you have to license to own it. And you have to have a registration, right? More on the registration in a moment. But let's talk for a moment about this licensing. Essentially, it is a mimic, similar in a way to like California and New York's. Now, I watched a guy who was undercover trying to get his license in California. He finally did, but it took him over a year. You have to understand, their system, it is essentially so intrusive, so expensive, so time-consuming, and so exhausting that it's designed to where most people eventually just give up in the process. And you have to take up so much time off work, visiting, revisiting, revisiting the police station, doing these interviews, doing paper, all these different things. And you have very short periods, slivers of time in which you can do so. And if you can't get time off of work in that time, well, I'm sorry, it's too bad. But this is what they do. It's a way, as I pointed out in a video I've done before, where government can actually keep people from owning guns without actually abolishing the Second Amendment. They can do it. This is exactly what she's trying to do. Also, do you want to know who this kind of legislation would hurt the most? I'll tell you. Urban black communities. And it's not because of race. It's not because they're black. It's because there are social economic issues often within these densely black populated areas. Not because of race, not because they're black. I feel like I have to keep reiterating that over and over and over again. It's social economic. But that creates certain issues, and that definitely creates a rise in crime. Anywhere where you have more poverty and hardship in certain areas around the world, you will see generally, typically a rise in crime. Well, this happens here. So then you take a community where people most need to protect themselves, but you create such barriers that they can't. Who do you think are going to become most victims? That's right. This gun legislation is literally racist. Literally racist. It targets communities of color the most. And Sheila Jackson Lee happens to be a woman of color. She doesn't get it. She's literally promoting racism. In fact, do you know how gun laws got started to begin with? When freed slaves were gaining their freedom and independence, rich white Democrats were so afraid of them that they created legislation for gun licensing in order to prevent these people from being able to procure and own guns. Literally, it is founded in racism, and it still promotes racism. So good job, all of you. We are so woke and anti-racist that you're literally promoting racism. Good job. So anyway, some things about licensing. One, licensing does not stop crime. All of it. Let's take these mass shootings that we're so familiar with. You want to know how many of these mass shootings would have been prevented with these licensings? I'll give you a hint. It's a number between 0 and 0. That's right. None of them wouldn't have stopped at 1. And then people who do, and then that's just these mass shootings. What about your typical crimes that happen? You know, take Chicago. People use Chicago as an example, Baltimore, wherever. Pick one. You want to know these guns that are being used? How they're procured? They're not through legal means. Black market and or stolen, right? Black market and or stolen. I'm so sick and tired of the tired argument. And I've read a guy's argument one time that people say that, you know, you try to prevent licensing because only bad guys are going to get guns and only good people aren't going to be able to, and it's going to disenfranchise the good people and leave them victims to the bad people. You know what? That's exactly what we're saying, because it's 100% right. And then they try to use the example. Well, you know, there used to not be speed limits on freeways, and then when they instituted freeways, because everybody could do whatever they want, when they instituted freeways, yes, did you know that yes, the people that chose to obey the law, they did, and then the ones that didn't. But did you know it reduced traffic accidents by 40% or whatever, by 40%? Okay, great. That's driving. That has nothing to do, you two completely separate issues that you cannot compare at all. You can't conflate these two. Low-informed people that don't use critical thinking, of course, fall for it, but you can't conflate them. It literally does not, will not, cannot stop crime. Okay, so let's go on with this HR-127 real quick. The other thing that it does is it, actually, back up just one moment. On top of licensing, they also want registration. Okay, registration. Registration does even less to prevent crime than licensing would. Licensing doesn't do anything. So, hey. So they also want to have registration. And I want to tell you something about registration. Okay? It doesn't stop crime, doesn't prevent crime, doesn't make people think twice about creating crime. You want to do crime, you're going to do crime. That's criminal. That's what it is to be a criminal. You don't care about the law. You don't care about registrations. You're not going to walk up to a no gun-free zone or to a gun-free zone area and look at that, take your gun and be like, oh, okay, shoot, I guess I can't go here. I ought to walk off. No, that's not reality. These people live in this ideal land of fancy and make-believe that doesn't exist. This is real life we're dealing with here, people. All a registration does is create a database. That is it. And let me make something very clear. You can use whatever example you want. Okay? You want to use Venezuela, Germany, Cuba, Australia? Pick one. Use an example. Every single place in this world where a forced registration for guns occurred, it literally was the step right before confiscation. Every single time. We see Bloomberg and different people here who have really been promoting the idea of confiscation. We've seen Joe Biden on his own website talk about confiscating guns. Beto O'Rourke up talking about confiscating guns. Kamala Harris when she was running for president, talking about confiscating guns. They literally have told you what they want to do, and people do not get it through their heads. As many times as we tell them, and as often as we show from the horse's mouth itself, they're literally looking at you saying, we are coming for your guns. We are going to confiscate your guns. We're not going to confiscate your guns. You see why this is so exhausting for us to continue to protect the Second Amendment? Okay, anyway, moving on with HR-127. So other things that it wants to do is it is to have a license to own ammunition and another license to buy ammunition. Remember, licensing doesn't happen just quick and easy. And there's a cost to it. And now you want people to have several licenses? Really? Really? Okay, great. And tell me again how that's going to actually stop crime. You have to ask yourself, people, if people are doing something that clearly is not going to accomplish what they say they want it to accomplish, then you have to ask, then why are they really trying to pass it? Why? Because there is an ulterior motive. And what is that? Well, I've already told you. Guys, they have already told you. It also puts a ban on certain ammunition, okay? So, armor-piercing ammunition is one of them. I want to make a point with that real quick. Armor-piercing ammunition. You want to know how many crimes have been done with armor-piercing ammunition? Zero. Nil, not a none. Zero. Why? Because, for one, it's expensive, right? I mean, that's the main part. It's expensive. And it's not as easy to get. It's not as, readily available. So if somebody wants to go and create crime, let's say a mass shooting, and they want to take out as many people as they can, are they going to want to take their $50 and get a very limited amount of ammunition, or $50 and get the most amount of ammunition they can possibly get? Remember, they go shooting in soft targets, movie theaters, schools, things like that, where people are not wearing armor. There's no armor-piercing rounds that you need. You can use range ammo, and you can still get the job done. So why? Why would they want to ban it? Who would it be, who could wear armor, who's trying to put a registration together, which is the step right before confiscation, and they want to ban armor piercing specifically, why could that be? Who are they really trying to protect, and what are they really trying to do? It's not difficult, people. You have to read between a couple of the lines, but most of it, they just come right out and tell you. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just show you Sheila Jackson Lee herself. Watch this video of her, and then I'm going to come back, say a couple things, and we'll close it out. Then after this, I'm going to have a part 2. I was going to put them together, but I realized this is going to get a little longer than I wanted, so we'll have a part 2 separately, and we're just really going to, remember, keep in mind some of the things I told you about the ARs, right? Not assault rifles, what they do, and so forth. We'll talk about that in the second part, and I think you will find part 2 actually pretty damn entertaining, especially if you're a gun person and you want a good laugh. So pay attention for that one. Anyway, Sheila Jackson Lee.
My bill that I've introduced dealing with a caliber weapon, I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the street.
Told you. She went to Yale. She went to U of V. Anybody who's a gun owner or knows anything about guns, I don't even have to go further to tell you anything. Because you heard that, and you're probably laughing to yourself. You're just going, oh my God, really? Why people really say this? Okay, so first of all, she said, it shoots 50s, like talking about calibers. And we're not talking about like, if 50 that is shot, from a hand cannon. We're talking like 50 B&Gs, okay? They confuse 50 cal, 50 mil, and all that. But anyway, take 50 B&Gs. I'm going to show you a photo here. All right, then I'm going to show you a couple things. So I'm going to put a photo right here. This is one that I took in just a couple days ago while I was planning on making this video of a 50 B&G. The round that it is next to is a 308. I'm going to show you a couple things. So remember, keep a look at that. This is a 308. All right, this is a 308. And I just realized I'm looking at the camera, but my eyes look like they're looking there, but whatever, forget it. Anyway, so this is a 308. An AR shoots either a 223 or a 556, typically. This is a 223, 556. That 50 BMG you're seeing is compared to this. It's not even your typical AR round. This is your typical AR round. So what you see is the difference between this and the 50 BMG. Now imagine this next to it. It's even more stark. But she's saying that big old 50 BMG, that's what the AR shoots. Why? Because she doesn't know anything, people. She literally doesn't. She uses fancy words and terms that she's heard, and she throws them all together. She doesn't really know what she's talking about. Nothing. This is the typical round, right? And remember, it's just the bullet that shoots. This is just the casing that holds the bullet in it. The bullet, for comparison, is the size of my pinky finger. She doesn't know what she's talking about. That's why these things are usually used for sport and target. You know what? Let me show you one last thing. She said, I just picked up an AR-15 and you wouldn't believe it. It's like as big as 10 moving boxes you would use for moving. Have you ever picked up a moving box? Have you ever picked up 10 of them? I'm not saying they all even have to be just stuff full of books. Imagine the weight of 10 moving boxes, with whatever in them. I don't care if it's blank, sheeting for your bed or whatever. I just so happen to have, which I may or may not have borrowed, which, even though it looks like I have it in my hand right now, I don't because it was lost in a boating accident. But I happen to have an AR-15, right? Remember, not automatic weapon, not what the military uses. It looks like it, but it's not. Just like you could have a Chevy Monte Carlo on the road, and then a Chevy Monte Carlo in NASCAR. They can look similar because of the shell. Everything inside is different. They are not the same beast. This is not what military uses. This is not an automatic rifle. One trigger pull, one round goes out. You cannot just pull and spray. Can't. They're legal. You can have them, but you're going to pay about $30,000 to own one, which is why they're also not used in crime. Automatic weapons, they're just not. Never. So, AR-15, 10 moving boxes. If I can get back and get the balance right enough. Remember, I'm not a big guy, so I don't have these big old, meaty, crush your coconut kind of finger, pinky finger. But I'm just going to use my little pinky finger here. I'm going to try to put it here, assuming this is where I can get the best balance. There we go. You see that? And I'm going to bounce it a little bit. You can see my other fingers here, so I'm not like wrapping it around or holding it. There's my thumbsy. Oh, I'm just going to do this too. As long as I can keep it balanced. All that weight coming down on that pinky finger. Why? Because it does not weigh as much as what she's saying. They're light. I'm sorry, y'all. When it comes to this, the woman is an idiot. Call it for what it is. Anyway, just wanted to let you know what's coming down the pipeline. Oh, and there's more. Stay tuned. So if this video connects with you, if it means something, if it's valuable, if you find it of value, please like, share, subscribe. That's what would help the metrics to grow the channel. That's what helps get our voice out to more people. Hopefully we can win a few over to our side. That would save them, and that would help us all out. So I'm asking, please, for your help in that way. Also, don't give up on your integrity and principle, because there's going to be a lot of pressure for you to do so. There's another side that has already. Don't be like that. We need to set the higher example. And always be wise, use discernment, and don't ever, ever let anybody control you or try to control you by scaring you by using fear. Have a great day, y'all.